Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Dillian Whyte Dominic Breazeale, the WBC has ordered them to fight for an interim title. And this was something that many of us had seen coming and thought was a likely outcome to deal with Dominic Breazeale's mandatory status within the WBC. He's been waiting for a fight with Deontay Wilder for over a year now. He's been the mandatory since he beat Eric Molina in November 2017. Deontay Wilder has indicated he's got no interest in that fight at this time. He's rematching with Tyson Fury, and the WBC has been on board with that. And the WBC itself had said recently it had to do a resolution, deal with Dominic Breazeale, and for me that always meant an interim title shot was likely. And the first guy who would be the first cab off the rank would be Dillian Whyte, and that is if he didn't fight Anthony Joshua. So Whyte's always had options, and I think this is one of the things that people haven't considered when he turned down the Anthony Joshua fight, that he had other options, and this is going to be for a version of a heavyweight title. So Whyte didn't like the offer from Joshua, couldn't get it done. He's got an interim title shot now in the WBC. So I'll go through the WBC statement and then some thoughts, because there's a couple of interesting things here, so we'll get to that. So the headline, WBC interim title in heavyweight division. The WBC Board of Governors has voted unanimously to order an interim title in the heavyweight division under the WBC rules and regulation guidelines and protocols. Dominic Breazeale, with a record of 20-1, became the mandatory challenger of the WBC heavyweight division in November 2017. Breazeale, in an exemplary action, accepted the WBC's ruling to support the efforts to potentially finalise the fight between Wilder and Joshua through 2018. As well as accepting the WBC sanctioning of a voluntary defence of champion Wilder vs Tyson Fury, which took place on December 2018. Yeah, I don't know, how willing he was to accept that, but he had to. The WBC ruling during the annual convention addressed the Wilder vs Fury match, the potential Wilder vs Joshua match, as well as the status of the mandatory obligations of the division. After the sensational fight between Wilder and Fury, the very close, high-level fight which was scored a draw, and by popular demand, the WBC accepted to rule a direct rematch. In order to provide activity to the heavyweight division and address the rights of Breazeale as mandatory challenger, the WBC is ordering a fight for the interim championship. The WBC is hereby ordering Dominic Breazeale to fight WBC silver champion Dillian Whyte for the WBC interim heavyweight championship. Dillian Whyte is the current silver champion and has defended with success his championship 3 times in 2018. A former WBC international champion with a record of 25-1 who has expressed, "I know that the road to the gold is the silver. I'm a proud WBC champion." The WBC is celebrating its 56th anniversary and will continue to work and mediate to try and make the best fights for the fans of the world, and we are extremely proud to see the tremendous excitement that exists in the heavyweight division all over the world. The free negotiation period has begun, and if there is no agreement between the parties, the WBC will conduct a purse bid in Mexico City headquarters on Tuesday, March 19, 2019. So they've got, just over a month to negotiate. So that is the WBC statement. And there is nothing here about what the purse split would be. If remember the recent statements from the WBC, if there was a purse bid for Wilder and Fury, Wilder being the champion and Fury, they made a special dispensation for Fury to give him 40%. So it would have been 60-40 if that goes to a purse bid. But here, there's no mention of that. And with Dominic Breazeale not being a champion, and he's just the mandatory challenger, and Dillian Whyte is the #1 rated contender in the WBC. He is also the WBC silver title. I just don't know what the actual split would be, because you could make a case for both that, they could actually have the upper hand and get a slightly bigger percentage than the other. It sort of depends which way you slice it. So maybe this will be a 50-50 deal, but we'll wait with interest from the WBC to get a bit of clarification on that. But in terms of this fight being made, I like it. It is a good fight for Dillian Whyte. It is one where it's quite winnable for him. And you'd imagine if it was to go to purse bid in March 19th, that potentially his promoter Eddie Hearn could win that and bring that back to the United Kingdom. It would make, for me at least, the most sense that it would be in the United Kingdom on pay-per-view. I'm just not sure that there is the money to actually hold it in the United States, because Dillian Whyte is not a huge name in the United States, nor is Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale is an undercard fighter in the United States, doesn't have a massive profile, and neither does Dillian Whyte. These guys are at a different profile level to Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and Tyson Fury. But even then, Deontay Wilder, for example, his recent fight against Luis Ortiz in the United States, which is arguably a bigger fight than Dillian Whyte and Dominic Breazeale profile-wise, that wasn't on pay-per-view. So I think there is a bar here, and it may not be met. So in all likelihood, it should be in the United Kingdom to maximize the amount of money. But, who knows with boxing? Someone may come in with a decent bid, bigger than Eddie Hearn, and bring it to the United States. And who knows what could happen and where it could go and what we will eventually see. But in respect of this fight, it's a good fight for both. Dominic Breazeale has been sitting on his haunches for a long time now, not doing much, spinning his wheels. He had a sort of stay busy fight. It was maybe a bit more than a stay busy fight against Carlos Negron. He kind of did make hard work of that. But he'd been out of the ring for more than a year. Eventually caught up with him and brutally knocked him out in the ninth round of their fight, and I think it was the ninth round, December 22nd, 2018. But Negron was lighting him up at different times, having a lot of success, and Dillian Whyte is a much better fighter than Carlos Negron. So Whyte, I believe he goes in the favourite for this fight, but that's not to say that Dominic Breazeale can't win it, because Dillian Whyte is hittable. He does slow down at points, but and Breazeale hits hard. But Breazeale, probably one of the most hittable guys in the heavyweight division. I could see him taking a battering over several rounds, taking a lot of punishment, and just to get off his own work. And that's kind of been his modus operandi, in different fights. The Izu Agona fight probably is the best example. He was taking a lot of punishment by the Polish fighter. He was even dropped in that, but eventually he did catch Izu Agona, and that was arguably one of the fights of the year in 2017. And that's been one of the few fights that Dominic Breazeale has had since his loss to Anthony Joshua back in 2016. He hasn't been that active. He's only fought, I think it's 3 times now. Izu Agona, February 2017. Then he fought Eric Molina. That was the back end of 2017. Carlos Negron, December 2018. So there may be a degree of ring rust for Dominic Breazeale when he fights Dillian Whyte, whenever that is. They've got a date booked for April 20th in the United Kingdom. That's when Eddie Hearn will want to bring that fight to the O2, pay-per-view, that sort of thing. But there's no guarantees, because this purse bid, it isn't due until March the 19th. And if Dominic Breazeale doesn't like the offers that he gets in the free negotiation period, he can just wait and then have the purse bid and probably get a relatively even split, if not an even split, in that purse bid. He's not going to accept any sort of A-siding by Dillian Whyte, and I'm sure Dillian Whyte will want to try give Dominic Breazeale as small a piece of the pie as possible. But if Dominic Breazeale is smart, and he's got some smart people behind him, he is advised by Al Heyman, they're not going to accept just any silly offers. They will wait if they have to. So who knows, maybe the April the 20th date, maybe that won't happen. But if it was to happen, they would have to give a good offer to Dominic Breazeale now to secure the actual fight, get it all wrapped up, give him enough time to train and prepare, and for everyone to be happy that that date is still a viable opportunity. But it really depends what the negotiations are now. But I do like this fight. And this was, as I alluded to earlier, always an option for Dillian Whyte. It's not like he's been without options. And sure, people can say this isn't for as big a money as an Anthony Joshua fight. And it's not. I mean, it patently wouldn't be. But the thing is here, Dillian Whyte is trying to build his brand and commercial value. He keeps gambling, and it's been paying off so far. Will it continue to pay off? We just don't know. But this would be for a version of a heavyweight title. So that will carry some weight if he wins this fight, beats Dominic Breazeale, and potentially then he could enter into negotiations with Anthony Joshua if Joshua gets past Jarrell Miller, with that fight set to be announced soon. So Dillian Whyte could end up having a bit more leverage after this fight with Dominic Breazeale should he come through and win it. But there's no guarantees in boxing, and Dominic Breazeale has proven before he hits hard, and if he really catches you, you go down in a heap. And we've seen Dillian Whyte hurt in a number of fights in his career, obviously knocked out by Anthony Joshua, so he is vulnerable to an extent. But obviously he's an improving fighter, he hits hard, and he's shown that left hook is really a weapon. If he catches Dominic Breazeale with that razor-sharp left hook, he could go. We've seen Dominic Breazeale dropped before, hurt before. It's not like he can't be hurt either. So this is a very interesting matchup for a number of reasons, but not least because it's for a WBC Interim Heavyweight Championship. I do like this fight. How about you? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.